Hello, I'm Dr. Vidya Patil, serving as Associate Professor of English at Government First Grade Women's College, Bidar. In today's video, we will be trying to read and understand the poem Coromandel Fishers by Sarojini Naidu. Indian English poetry is one of the oldest forms of Indian English literature. These Indian poets who initially began to write in the English language tried to adapt the English language or Indianize the language so that they could express emotions and describe situations which were typical to the Indian context. Some of the most famous Indian English poets were Henry Desrosiers, Sarojini Naidu, Rabindranath Tagore, Sri Aurobindo, Toru Dutt, and others. Among these poets, Sarojini Naidu occupies an important place among the Indian English poets. She is considered to be one of the foremost of the Indian English poets who was able to use the English language in a very evocative manner. In this particular poem, Coromandel Fishers, we can see her exemplary use of the language and how she very beautifully describes nature and the bravery of the fishermen. So, let us now try to read and understand the poem. Coromandel Fishers by Sarojini Naidu. Before we actually begin to read and understand the poem, let us try to find out something more about Sarojini Naidu. As you all know, she is not only a poet, but also a political activist and a staunch feminist. She was one of the first Indian women to be elected as the president of the Indian National Congress and also the first Indian woman to be appointed as the governor of an Indian state. 13th February, which is her birthday, is celebrated as National Women's Day. She has written many poems which have been published in various volumes. Some of the important publications are The Golden Threshold, The Bird of Time, Muhammad Jinnah, An Ambassador of Unity, The Broken Wing, The Sceptered Flute, and The Feather of the Dawn. She was popularly called as the Nightingale of India. Coromandel Fishers is a poem which is included in the folk song section in her book, The Golden Threshold. It is a poem which focuses on the fishermen of the eastern coast of India. Sarojini Naidu motivates the Indian people through this poem. Though the poem is written about the fishermen, she is metaphorically focusing on the Indian people and urging them to fight for their freedom. In this poem, Sarojini Naidu wants to motivate the Indian people to hasten their struggle for freedom. The poem speaks about the fishermen of the eastern coast of India, which is commonly called as the Coromandel coast. In this poem, Sarojini Naidu describes the life of the fishermen, which is full of dangers. They go about their daily routine and duties, that is getting up early in the morning, setting out into the sea to catch the fish, and then coming back at the time of sunset. They do not fear the violent sea waves or the storms which are rising in the sea and go on with their duties. They are not at all threatened. They do not feel threatened by the dangers of the sea. And with their determination and courage, they manage to reach the horizon, which is the point where the sky meets the sea. This leads them to inexhaustible opportunities. And so Sarojini Naidu feels that if the Indian people also Just like these fishermen go on dauntlessly and continue with their struggle for freedom, they will surely attain freedom. The poem consists of 3 stanzas, and each of the stanzas is made up of 4 lines. Let us now begin with the first stanza. In the first stanza, the poet begins by saying, "Rise, brothers, rise, the wakening skies pray to the morning light. The wind lies asleep in the arms of the dawn, like a child that has cried all night." So, Sarojini Naidu begins by making a call, "Rise, brothers, rise. Rise, brothers, rise." With this call to the fishermen, she is asking them to come out and go out into the seas. The fishermen arise on hearing this call. The skies which have remained dark are now longing for the brightness. The winds which had been blowing throughout the night are now silent in the arms of the dawn. Here, Sarojini Naidu compares dawn to the mother and the winds to a child, and says that these winds have fallen asleep in the motherly arms of the dawn. So, Sarojini Naidu then goes on to say that, "Come, let us gather our nets from the shore and set our catamarans free to capture the leaping wealth of the tide, for we are the kings of the sea." So the fishermen put themselves in their daily routine. They start gathering their nets from the shore and set their catamarans, that is their boats, free. They prepare themselves to go out into the sea and catch the leaping wealth of the tide, which is nothing but the fishes. Sarojini Naidu tells them that they need not be afraid, as they were the kings of the sea. Here, she is actually trying to tell the Indian people that just as these fishermen, without fearing the dangers lying ahead, go out into the sea every day to catch the wealth, similarly, we Indians also need to begin our freedom struggle, because this land belongs to us. In the second stanza, we find that she goes on to say, "No longer delay, let us hasten away in the track of the seagull's call. The sea is our mother, the cloud is our brother, the waves are our comrades all." So she says that when the fishermen hear the call of the dawn, that is the seagull's call, they set about to the sea in the direction in order to catch the fish. They regard the sea as their mother, the cloud as their brother, and the waves as their comrades or companions. The sea is considered to be the mother because she sustains their life. The cloud is called as the brother because they guide them continuously. And the waves are called as the companions because they are always with them. They do not care for their lives, and they then return at the sunset. So Sarojini Naidu continues, "What though we toss at the fall of the sun, where the hand of the sea god drives, he who holds the storm by the hair will hide in his breast our lives." She says that the rising and falling sea waves are continuously tossing them, but they need not be afraid for their lives, because the sea god who can hold the storm by the hair will always protect them. She then goes on in the third and the last stanza and says, "Sweet is the shade of the coconut glade and the scent of the mango grove, and sweet are the sands at the full of the moon with the sound of the voices we love." Here, Sarojini Naidu says that these fishermen live in a serene atmosphere. Their dwellings are surrounded by coconut and mango trees and filled with the sweet smell of these trees. The sands shine in the bright rays of the full moon. It is a very peaceful and joyful scene, and the fishermen may not want to leave this and come out into the sea. But she says that this joy is temporary, and the true joy and satisfaction lies in going out into the sea. So, in the last two lines, she says, "But sweeter, O brothers, the kiss of the spray and the dance of the wild foam's glee. Row, brothers, row to the edge of the verge where the low sky mates with the sea." So here she says that when they go out into the sea and feel the waves, see the waves and feel the water drops falling onto them, that is the true happiness. And when they are determined to row on and reach the horizon where the sky meets the sea, she then says that the Indian people can also go out without fearing the dangers lying ahead and continue with the freedom struggle. This will surely help them to attain the independence of India. Let us now try to understand the central theme of this poem. Sarojini Naidu begins the poem with the phrase, "Rise, brothers, rise," where she makes the readers feel as though they are a part of the scene and they are beside the fishermen on the Coromandel coast. This phrase asks the fishermen to rise up early and go out into the seas so that they can harvest the treasures of the seas. This can also be interpreted as a call for the Indian men or the Indian people so that they can come out and take part in the freedom struggle. The speaker then goes on to urge the fishermen that they should not prefer to have a relaxing life under the shade of the trees, but instead go out in the seas and face the violent sea waves and feel the drops of water on their bodies. It is only when they go through this hard work and suffering that they can reach or attain their destination. The main moral principle behind this poem is that when we come together for a common purpose and put faith in God, we can accomplish great things. Here, Sarojini Naidu is trying to motivate the Indian people so that they come out and take part in the freedom struggle so that they can go ahead and earn the independence of India. Here in this poem, Sarojini Naidu, by describing the fishermen and trying to motivate them, is actually trying to motivate the people of India. Let us now try to have a look at the style of language which has been used. Sarojini Naidu used the English language very effectively. In this poem, we have 3 stanzas of 4 lines each. The rhyme scheme of the poem is A, A, B, B. So, in every stanza, the first and the second line rhyme with each other, and the third and the fourth line again rhyme with each other. The different figures of speech which have been used in this poem are the simile, metaphor, and personification. Let us now look at some of the examples. The wind lies asleep in the arms of the dawn like a child that has cried all night. In this one line, we can see that the poet is treating the dawn as a human being and says that the dawn is putting the winds to sleep. So, this is nothing but personification. Another example which we can see here of a different figure of speech is in the line, the wind is where the wind is compared to the child. So, this is an example of a simile. We also have an example of the metaphor in the line, sea is our mother. Here, the sea is not being compared to a mother, but it is being said that the sea itself was the mother. So, this is a beautiful example of a metaphor. In this poem, we can find lots of evidence of Sarojini Naidu's great use of the English language and how she could use the language to effectively describe the beauty of the nature. Finally, we can say that the poem The Coromandel Fishers not only expresses the fishermen's identity with the sea, but also with their community. The poem also describes the sense of order, duty, and discipline which is evident in the lives of these fishermen. They go out every day early in the morning, come back at the sunset without worrying about the dangers of the violent sea waves or the rising storms in the sea. And with their determination, they manage to reach the horizon, that is the point where the sky appears to meet the sea. In this poem, we find that Sarojini Naidu describes the beauty of the nature as well as the audacity and the bravery of the fishermen. Everything has been very beautifully described. Each and every line of the poem is very inspiring and motivating. This poem shows why Sarojini Naidu is considered to be one of the greatest Indian English poets. I hope you liked this video. Thank you.